Hi friends, strangers, internet. My name's EmilyHanhan. I have colorful makeup and colorful language. Welcome back to my channel, or if you are new, welcome. Today I'm talking about something that it is a little deep. I just finished filming, so I have the feelings in me. It's a little deep. I want to talk about comfort foods as a neurodiverse person. And this video, as a trigger warning, content warning, it is going to touch on disordered eating and eating disorders, my relationship with my body and with food, and neurodivergent brains, ADHD and autism, and a lot of things like that. We're also going to talk about food and flavors and sensory things and accessibility and I don't know, all of these different topics. I was making my breakfast this morning, and it's one of my current top tier comfort meals, and I just thought, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about it. I want to share where I'm at, share kind of some of my history and how I got here, and I hear all of these noises in the apartment building. That's life. I wanted to talk about it. It's my channel. I talk about what I want to talk about. So I put this makeup on my face and I talked about all of these topics. And just to let you know, I did use my dupe palette for the Glaminatrix Nocturnal palette. I also added a little single as well. So that is featured in case you saw that video and want to see more looks using these products. And I always link and list the makeup that's on my face in the description box, but it's not a big focal point of these get ready with me's. So I'm giving you that heads up in case, that's important to you. Also, if you're new here, if you like colorful makeup, bitches with lots of opinions, or cute fat babes, or neurodivergent folks talking about life, definitely subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. I have a Patreon, I have a YouTube membership, and lots of other ways to support that I would so appreciate. I appreciate my patrons and my YouTube members very much. Okay. Enough intro, enough. We're going to jump into the get ready with me and me talking about my comfort foods as a very neurodiverse person. If you are not a patron or a YouTube member, this is a new setup. I talked about it in a vloggy get ready with me for y'all, if you're watching. So if you want to know what's going on, that's what's going on. But I have it zoomed in closer. I put on a little bit of eye primer, did a bare brow, some moisturizer. So just today's topic was completely just inspired by me making breakfast. So I am neurodivergent. I have self-diagnosed myself with ADHD, and I am exploring the thoughts of other diagnoses, ASD, and that kind of thing. I think that self-diagnosis is diagnosis. It's valid as fuck. I just wanted to kind of put it out there. No one needs to put it out there, but that's where I'm at. And I completely thank Audra at home for basically helping me just with our conversations. They're not a therapist, or they're not, doing medical kind of work, but our conversations over the years, because wow, it's already been a couple of years. This angle is, it's not my favorite. We're going with it, but I'm still figuring this stuff out. I'm just saying that in case it bothers anyone else. So, as I was saying before I redid this setup, I have learned a lot about myself. Thank you to Audra and to social media, TikTok in particular, I've learned a lot about myself, and something that I have discovered over the pancetta is that I totally am a comfort food person. Now, I do, I have for much of my life prided myself in kind of like being an adventurous eater. Some people would call me a foodie, although that word could burn in hell. But so that's something that I still identify with. But thank you to being, stuck in our homes and other things, I have realized that I have my comfort foods, I have my repetitive foods, I try a new restaurant, I like the things that I've tried, I just order those things over and over again. And I literally used to be like, no, I don't do that. And then like, I just was, one day I was like, you're right, I do. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's a big part of this conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. And learning that about yourself and embracing it can be incredibly helpful. And I was making my like comfort breakfast, and I was like, I just kind of want to talk about this on YouTube. And part of the reason why I want to talk about it is I would love to hear from anyone watching, like what their comfort things are, like their comfort foods, or even your process of like realizing this, and if you've had to come to terms with it. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. Also, if you're new here, I tend to like do this part of my eyes, clean up, do my face, and kind of finish my eyes, and that's what we're about to do. When I was living in Brooklyn, during the like early, not even just the early parts of 2020 and 2021, like just throughout, I found one of my comfort meals to be ramen with sauteed kimchi, and usually some green onions in the saute, and maybe even sometimes spam. I am very pro pork products. Wow, am I going to put that on the internet? Anyway, I like spam. It was a discovery in the last couple of years, actually. Crispy, fried up. If you don't like it, that's fine. Believe me, be. I'm obviously feeling very protective. One of the things that I thought about comfort foods for neurodivergent people, I thought that it was only really related to like bland and quote unquote unoffending foods. And so that was really why for a long time I was like, no, that's not really me. That's not like what I do. I like flavors. I like, I like fermented foods. I like funky foods. Like, give me the tinned canned fish. Give me cheeses. Give me, pickles and kimchi and olives and, spicy. And now that I'm saying it, I'm like, bitch. Oh my gosh, you were in denial. Because something I've also learned is that like a lot of people use food as a sensory experience. So like me over here being like, oh my god, I love potato chips and sweet things. I love, like fermented foods and creamy, cheesy things like kimchi, creamy pasta. Oh my God, one of my favorites. I'm like, you're combining sensory experiences, or you're bouncing between them, like eating a spicy chip and then something sweet and then something spicy and then like, and I'm laughing because I was just like, no, that's really not me. That's not. And I'm like, I'm so neurodiverse. And I'm not embarrassed about being neurodivergent or neurodiverse. I'm not embarrassed about it. I'm embarrassed about my fucking denial. I am embarrassed about my denial. Like, who did I think I was fooling? Obviously, I was fooling myself, but yeah. So that's part of my story. Is that for a really, really long time, I just, as I was learning about neurodivergent brains and particularly ADHD at first, I was just like, well, I identify with a lot of this, but then like, I don't identify with other things. And then like, the longer I talked to Audra and honestly, like spending time at home and ordering the same things, buying the same groceries, like even as I've moved around, like I find a couple of restaurants that I enjoy and then I order the same things, and I have no shame about that, but I did at one point in time. And so it's just interesting to me how like I am approaching 40 and I am still learning so much about myself. And I think this is the first time I've ever used the phrase approaching 40 about myself. And that was weird. Aging isn't weird, but my brain just went, did you just say that? I still really like this Rare Beauty concealer. There's like so little about the brand that I care a whole lot about, but this concealer just works, and this is a really nice match for me too. So that was kind of like my process, and something that did I describe this? My like one of my go-to comfort foods during the last like 2 years of living in Brooklyn. I always liked kimchi. I always liked ramen, but I would specifically make like shin ramen or shin ramen black, and then I would saute kimchi in butter. Sometimes I would get some crispy Spam in there. I would add green onions, and then I would eat the ramen and like pull the noodles into the kimchi and eat them together. Or like, I wasn't really focused on the broth of the ramen a lot. Sometimes I would add cheese to the ramen. It was a whole thing. I always wanted to have those things in my pantry or refrigerator. And then I moved to Mexico, and finding kimchi, finding ramen that isn't Maruchan, which Maruchan has its place, but not a lot. So yeah, I moved to Mexico, and all of a sudden my comfort meal is hard to source or near impossible, or it's budgetarily in a completely different ballpark. And it's been so interesting just like dealing with that. And this week I had a couple of like comfort meals, comfort ramen meals, because I tracked down a little bit of kimchi and a little bit of a ramen that is, not just top ramen. And it just is so funny how like this thing that was like a real regular thing for me is now such a special treat. And I'm not mad about that. Like I think in the long term, when I'm in a better place financially, like I will just enjoy those meals more often. But right now they're just fewer and further between. But then I have found other things that I would have never expected to be comfort meals for me that are. And so something that I also like, so I have a history of eating disorders, and I have dealt with disordered eating basically since I was a kid. And being at home more, the pandemic and like diving into my neurodivergent brain has made everything harder. It really has. And I'm not saying that like it wasn't already hard, but it brings out issues that I thought I had kind of like healed and moved on from, and shows me like, no bitch, you haven't. And that's hard. That is a hard thing to kind of face and work through and add to the list of things that I'm working on in myself. But part of my like relationship with food is that, you know, oh, I didn't mean to pick that up yet. Whoopsie. Okay. Part of my part of my relationship with food was very much feeling like shortcut foods are bad. And I have worked so hard at eliminating the morality out of food, and it's still something I'm working on. It's definitely not gone forever. But one of the things that I didn't realize had such a chokehold on me was like, oh, well, you know, if you're craving something sweet, you should make brownies. You can't just go buy something. Or, you know, like just that morality, the morality of like homemade or higher quality foods is doing eating right. And the other stuff is not. And it is, you know, being lazy or gross or all of these different things, all of these different judgments that in particular get put on fat people and poor people, and, you know, in terms of like junk food, which I hate that phrase. I try to call them snack foods because that's the best thing I could come up with. But I still held a lot of those feelings. And so for a really long time, there were just like certain convenience foods that I didn't like to just like let myself buy all the time. And that's really fucked up when you start, like, when I really started listening to myself, I was like, you know, that's your disordered eating brain talking, right? You know that, right? And I'm just like, no, it's just me liking food. It's me being a foodie or a food enthusiast. It's me. No, that's disordered eating. Like, no, bitch, that's disordered eating. So, that context given, my nose is just a little unblended for what I want. I need a new monochromatic mauve. You're very sad. Repressing blushes is hard. Yeah, like I needed more blush, but I'm really trying to get use out of things, and I forgot I pulled this one out. There's literally never too much blush in my book. Oh my gosh, pink and purple together is just such, I love it. Okay. We're gonna finish up these eyes now that the blush distraction is over. So for me, I have done a lot of work and come a long way in terms of like my relationship with food, my relationship with my brain, all of these things. And so anyway, the point I was trying to get to before I gave you some more insight on like my relationship with food is that, so anyway, I got distracted again, but where I was going before I started telling you about my relationship with food is that, you know, my time in Mexico has also redefined what is a comfort food for me. Wow, that got it. Okay. We like it. It's just a lot. But yeah, so my ability to, you know, eat what were my comfort foods, like what I was eating a lot of, I wasn't able to do that anymore. And it's been, you know, it's been a learning curve. It's been a process. And it's just interesting, like, what is now nothing quite like just putting blue all in my inner corner and brow. Always count on me to make it weird. The reason I remember now, the reason why I ventured into kind of talking more about my experience, or yeah, my disordered eating past, is that grip that was on me, where I was like, I can't use prepared foods. That's not allowed. That's not being a good fat person. I have come a long way with that. And I am of the mindset that feeding yourself is what's important. It's not about what you're putting in your body. It's about that you're putting food in your body. If you are struggling with putting food in your body, any food that you put in your body is good food. That's not up for debate on this channel. That's my take on the situation. And if you feel differently, that's fine. You go talk about it on your own social media channel. But for me, all food is good food. Feeding yourself is the most important thing. So that's where I've had to get with myself. And, you know, the meal that started this whole thought process is like this go-to breakfast/lunch for me. And I say breakfast/lunch because usually it's my first meal of the day, but it's usually the thing that I eat on, like, I don't want to have to make more food later in the day. That's something that I struggle with. So it's, you know, if you think it's a big meal, you can think that. You just don't have to say that to me. So anyway, I will make instant microwave rice. I have found a variety that is flavored like tomato that is fucking delicious. And so it's like nice and seasoned, and while that's cooking away in the microwave, I cook down some cherry tomatoes, usually in butter, with green onions, and I'll add something spicy like sambal or chili powder, or, you know, like a ground chili, I should say, not necessarily chili powder. And then I will, once the tomatoes are cooked kind of how I want, I've been like consolidating. Like I do all of the tomato cooking, and then the next part all in the same pan. I'll like scoot the tomatoes over, add a little bit more oil, usually olive oil, crack in 2 eggs, and let it kind of like fry, cook. Sometimes I'll cover the pan and let them steam a little so those whites get cooked, but the yolks are still runny because I like a runny yolk. And then I serve the tomatoes and the eggs over the tomato rice. And sometimes I will add like Parmesan or goat cheese is my new favorite. Add goat cheese into the rice so the rice is like creamy, and I'll add that once it's cooked, like once it's out of the microwave. And I'm not saying it's definitely not a 5-minute meal for me. I would say it's like, it depends on, because I chop up the tomatoes, I chop up the onions. Like, it's not like super, super fast, but for me, it's one of the fastest meals that I can make that has, for me, a good balance of protein and carbs and also some veggies. And cherry tomatoes and green onions tend to always be in season. They last well in the refrigerator usually. So I can, put I get grocery delivery because still the pancetta. I'll get, an order in and have cherry tomatoes and green onions for generally the course of a week, maybe a little longer, depending on things and stuff and the quality and the state of things. Yeah. I always have eggs in my fridge. They're like vital for me in terms of, my food, my eating. And it's, like I said, it's like comforting because of the usually like kind of or very creamy rice. It's flavorful. I really enjoy cherry tomatoes. I really like eggs. I get to cook the eggs however I want. You could scramble them. You could, you could do whatever. Yeah. And anyway, like, if you had told me a year ago that was like a comfort meal for me, I would have probably laughed at you, because I didn't think I think I loved rice. That's what I'm trying to say. I didn't think I loved rice. But in that format, I do. And embracing the microwave rice, embracing, the seasonings or whatever, like, and embracing what I can get here in Mexico. And that's been another big part of it, where I'm just like, look, if this is what you can get, if this is what feels comfortable, then get the damn things. And I think that's like the biggest thing that has, come into my brain in the last couple of years, is that if your comfort food or foods are, if they work for you, eat them. It does not matter what anyone else thinks about the food that you're putting in your body. I hate that people have the audacity to even have opinions about the food people are putting in their bodies. But in case you're watching this and you're feeling, judged, or you're feeling, some kind of negative feelings about the food that you're eating, please don't. Please don't. Like, I'm going to say this again. Just feeding yourself can be so hard for so many people, and it's just important that you feed yourself. And whether you're neurodivergent or not, whatever you feel like you identify with or whatever, you can still be a person that has comfort foods. It's not just about being neurodivergent. It's just that is what led me down this road. And realizing that, like, this is one of the ways that I can actually feed myself on a regular basis, that's a great feeling. I just wanted, like, the tiniest little pop of something in that lower lash line to bring that pink down here. Yes. There we go. Okay. I pulled out multiple pink lip products, but I'm going to try the e.l.f. one first. I feel done. I ended up using the e.l.f. with a little bit of Fenty Fussy, which, look how I am panning this bitch. since the look is done, and I feel like I have talked a fair bit about comfort eating, comfort foods, we're gonna close it up here. I know I only shared a couple of my comfort meals, but I feel like those are my big ones. I'm sure I have other things, but I would love to hear from y'all, like if you, whether or not you're neurodivergent, whether or not you are diagnosed in any capacity, whether or not you have any kind of disordered eating in your past or in your current, just if any of this resonates with you, I would love to hear like what yours might be, or if you have like any tips or tricks on kind of like finding those comfort foods or comfort meals, because I know I could always, use them. And I think my biggest takeaway for myself and for anyone watching is that finding foods that are easy, satisfying, are flavorful in the ways you want them to be flavorful, are accessible to you in terms of location, budget, nutrition needs or allergies, any of the things. It's really important. And whatever it is that might cause, regularly feeding yourself to be an issue. Those are neighbor kids screaming in the background, in case you heard any or all of that. But you are worth feeding. You are worth nourishment. You are worth care. You are worth rest. And so whatever you need to do to make sure that that is a regular part of your life, I am here giving you permission to prioritize that. And I feel like that got, no, this whole topic is pretty deep. For me, my relationship with food and with my brain and with my body are deep and complex and full of trauma. And so I'm just going to be here talking about that when it feels right. And definitely share in the comments anything that you feel like could be helpful for other people or helpful for yourself, or questions or comments or anything. Because if you are watching this video and you feel any reason to make a comment out of kindness or curiosity, not out of hatred, please do. And thank you again for watching. If you have any questions about the look, any products that I used, you can also leave those comments and questions. I try to list everything out in the description box in terms of what I used, but there is don't be shy. You can always ask the questions. Anyway, most importantly, take care of yourself better today than you did yesterday, because you are worth it. Bye, friends. Whew. Why am I always surprised that talking about food and eating and bodies gets deep and feels? I'm always surprised. You shouldn't be surprised, Emily.